Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into something that can be really tricky, like
Yeah.
walking a tightrope.
Yeah.
You know, it's about how to balance your own plans for starting a family
Mm-hmm.
with what your in-laws are hoping for,
Right.
especially when you're trying to make these big decisions based on your Christian faith.
It's a tough one for sure.
It is. So to help us sort through all of this, we took a close look at an episode from the Sunshine Inside podcast.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
They have a great episode called Navigating In-Law Expectations in Christian Marriage.
Interesting.
And they had some really insightful faith-based advice in there.
I bet.
I think it could be really helpful for anyone in this situation.
For sure.
One thing that stood out to me was how they emphasized honoring your in-laws' wishes without compromising your own values.
Right.
And they break it down into 3 clear principles.
Oh, nice. So it's easy to follow.
Yeah, exactly. So the first principle is guarding your heart.
Okay.
And they start with a verse from Proverbs. It says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. You know, we often think about guarding our hearts when it comes to like dating and relationships.
Yeah, that's what usually comes to mind.
But in this case, it's a little bit different.
Oh, how so?
It's more about protecting yourself from negativity and pressure that comes from outside.
Oh, I see.
Like when your in-laws have strong opinions about when you should start a family.
Right.
It's so easy to get caught up in fear and doubt.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, am I letting them down?
Right.
Am I making the right choices? You know,
It's hard not to second guess yourself.
yeah, those anxieties can really weigh on you.
They do.
And that's where guarding your heart comes in.
Okay.
It's about recognizing those feelings and then choosing to focus on what truly matters.
Then what's that?
Your relationship with God
Of course.
and the path that he has for you.
Makes sense.
And the podcast actually contrasts this with the fear of man.
Oh, interesting.
They bring up Proverbs 29.25. It says, the fear of man lays a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is safe.
Wow. That's a powerful image.
Yeah, it really resonated with me.
Me too.
Because it's so true.
It is.
It's like you're making decisions based on fear of what your in-laws will think,
Yeah.
always trying to please them instead of following your own heart.
And your faith.
Right.
That can be so damaging.
Exactly. That fear becomes a trap.
It really does.
It can lead to resentment and even impact your relationship with your partner.
Definitely.
So instead of letting fear run the show,
Yeah.
the podcast points us to Proverbs 14.2627.
Oh, okay.
It says, whoever fears the Lord has a secure fortress, and for their children it will be a refuge. It's a beautiful reminder that when we put our trust in God
Yeah.
and his plan for us, we find real strength and security.
We do.
We create a safe space for ourselves
Absolutely.
and for our future family.
It's such a powerful shift.
It is. Instead of feeling trapped by expectations,
Right.
you find this incredible freedom in your faith.
You do.
It's amazing.
It really is. And it leads perfectly into the next principle.
Right, which is,
Pray for grace and wisdom.
yes, prayer.
Yeah.
We hear that all the time.
We do.
But it's not just something we do out of habit.
Yeah.
It's like a direct line to God,
Right.
a way to seek his guidance and strength.
Especially in tough situations like this.
Exactly. And the podcast really drives that point home.
They do.
Prayer is like this powerful tool that can transform your whole outlook.
Yeah.
And it can open up communication with your in-laws.
Even if you feel like you're speaking different languages.
It's true. They even bring up Proverbs 16.7 to show what they mean.
Oh, what does that one say?
It says, when the Lord takes pleasure in anyone's way, he causes their enemies to make peace with them.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
It really is.
It's like aligning your life with God's will can actually create peace,
Yeah.
even with people who seem opposed to your choices.
That's incredible.
And the podcast doesn't just say, go pray, you know.
No, they give practical advice.
Yeah, they tell you how to approach it.
Oh, I like that.
Like they suggest praying for wisdom.
Okay.
So you can understand your in-laws' perspective and handle things with grace.
Makes sense.
They also encourage praying for peace,
Oh, yeah.
you know, to stay calm when things get a little rough,
Because they probably will.
right?
Yeah.
And they talk about praying for patience too,
Oh, for sure.
because these conversations can require a lot of it.
So much patience.
And most importantly,
yeah.
they encourage you to pray with your partner.
If they're a believer, of course.
Yeah, of course.
That's such a good point.
It is. It creates a sense of unity
Right.
and a shared purpose.
You're in this together.
Exactly.
I love that.
It's powerful stuff, you know.
It is.
So that brings us to their third and final principle.
Okay.
And it's all about acting wisely with patience.
That sounds important.
It really is.
Yeah.
And they highlight this verse from Ecclesiastes.
Yeah.
It's Ecclesiastes 3:7, and it says, "A time to keep silent and a time to speak."
I like that.
It's a good one, right?
Yeah, it is.
It reminds us that sometimes listening is more valuable than talking.
Especially when things are heated.
Exactly. It's tempting to jump in and defend yourself
Oh, yeah, for sure.
when you feel misunderstood.
Right.
But sometimes the best thing you can do is just listen.
Just listen.
Try to really understand where they're coming from.
That makes sense.
It shows respect,
It does.
and it creates space for a better conversation.
Yeah, it can really de-escalate things.
And when you do speak,
Right.
the podcast emphasizes thoughtful communication.
Oh, okay.
It's not about winning an argument
No.
or changing their minds.
Right.
It's about expressing your commitment to your faith
Mm-hmm.
and how your faith guides your decisions.
Like when to start a family.
Exactly.
No.
That's a big one.
But it's also about respecting their perspective.
Even if you don't agree with it.
Exactly.
That's tough sometimes.
Mm.
It is. It's about finding that balance
Yeah.
between standing firm in your beliefs
Right.
and giving grace to those who don't understand.
Showing them love even when it's hard.
Right. And the podcast reminds us that this isn't a solo mission.
Oh, good.
It's really helpful to involve your partner in these conversations.
Makes sense.
Present a united front.
Yeah.
Show that you're a team.
A team grounded in faith.
Yes. And it takes the pressure off of you.
I bet it does.
You don't have to defend everything on your own.
That makes a big difference.
It creates solidarity,
Yeah, between you and your partner.
and potentially even with your in-laws.
Huh. That's an interesting thought.
It is. And the podcast really stresses that this is a journey.
Not a destination.
Exactly.
So there will be bumps in the road.
There will be disagreements.
Maybe even hurt feelings.
It happens.
But the key is to approach it all with grace.
And forgiveness.
And keep those lines of communication open.
That's so important.
It is, because at the end of the day, your family.
That's beautiful. It's
Hmm.
easy to lose sight of that.
It really is when you're in the thick of it.
You get caught up in the arguments.
And forget the bigger picture.
Yeah. But it really is about love
And respect.
and understanding within the family.
Absolutely.
Choosing love over judgment.
Even when it's hard.
That's what strengthens those bonds.
It's powerful stuff.
What I find really interesting is that these three principles,
Guarding your heart.
yeah,
Acting wisely with patience.
they're presented in the context of in-laws,
Right.
but they can apply to so many other challenges.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's about aligning your life with your faith
And seeking guidance through prayer.
and responding to challenges with wisdom and grace.
It's a way of life.
It is. And it's a good reminder that you're not alone.
Right. There's a whole community out there.
People facing similar challenges.
Finding strength in their faith.
And one thing I really loved about this podcast episode
Yeah.
was how they weave in that practical advice with biblical wisdom.
It's not just about what to do.
But why to do it.
Exactly. And that grounding in faith can be really powerful.
It speaks to that deeper longing for connection.
And purpose.
It really does.
And I think it sets the stage beautifully for their closing message.
Oh,
They end with this thought-provoking question.
Okay.
They ask, how might reflecting on God's ultimate plan and timing for your life bring peace and clarity to this situation? Wow, that really changes things, doesn't it?
it does.
It's like you're so focused on the pressure,
Mm-hmm.
and then suddenly you zoom out.
You see the bigger picture.
Yeah. It's like remembering we're not in control of everything.
Exactly. It's about surrendering to God's timing
It is. It's so easy to get caught up in our own plans
and what we want.
and when we want it,
Right.
but trusting that God has a plan for us,
Even if it's different from everyone else's expectation
that can bring so much peace.
and freedom.
It takes the pressure off.
It does.
You don't have to control everything. You can just lean into faith, knowing that God is working everything out
Even when it feels uncertain.
according to his plan.
Yeah. His perfect plan.
That's a powerful place to be.
It is. A place of
Yes.
peace.
And hope.
Even when things are tough.
Exactly.
Well, we've covered a lot today.
We have.
We talked about those tricky in-law expectations
Mm-hmm.
and how important it is to stay rooted in your faith
Right.
and to seek God's guidance.
When things get complicated,
And we explored some really practical tools.
like guarding your heart
Yes.
and prayer,
And acting wisely with patience,
even when it's hard.
especially when it's hard.
And I think it's important to remember,
What's that?
we're not alone in this.
There are so many others going through the same thing.
Yeah. and finding strength in their faith.
Exactly.
If you're looking for more support on this topic,
Yeah,
I definitely recommend checking out the Sunshine Inside podcast.
they have some great stuff.
They do. Their faith-based approach is really insightful.
And encouraging.
So yeah, before we wrap things up.
I think the most important takeaway is this.
Okay, I'm listening.
Stay true to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
to your values,
Yes.
and to your relationship with God.
That's the foundation.
It is. And trust in His plan.
Seek His guidance,
And walk forward with confidence.
knowing He's with you every step of the way.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Me too.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
See you next time.